So is the Mac Studio the right computer for you? Well, in today's video, I want to go over some of my opinions on this very powerful computer, and let's just find out if this is the right fit for you and your production team. For our Mac Studio, we went with the base model, which has the M1 Max chip with a 10-core CPU, a 24-core GPU, a 16-core neural engine, 32 gigabytes of unified memory, and a 512 gigabyte SSD. Now, like I said, that is the base model. It's the cheapest option you can get. Now let's get into the I/O of these devices. Now on the front of the M1 Max, you have two USB-C ports and one SD-XC port. Now this is very handy if you are trying to plug in an SD card real quick just to dump it, or you're trying to plug in an SSD like I do on every Sunday to grab the footage from that Sunday so you can edit it and have it posted for that week. I will also mention that the M1 Max and the M1 Ultra, the front ports are different. Now, by appearance, they aren't different whatsoever. However, the two USB-C ports on the M1 Max and then on the M1 Ultra, you have two Thunderbolt 4 ports as well. Now, on the back of these devices, they're all the same. They have four Thunderbolt 4 ports, two USB-A ports, one HDMI port, one 10 gig Ethernet port, and a 3.5 millimeter headphone jack. By now, I'm sure you've already seen all the tests and benchmarks everybody else has done, so I'm not gonna go into any of that. But what I wanna do is help you decide if this is the right device for you. An important note to keep in mind is these Mac Studios do not come with a screen, a keyboard, or a mouse. So that could be an added expense that you might not be really thinking about. However, in our scenario, we already had all of that, so it didn't cost us anything extra other than the base model price of the Mac Studio. Now, in our setup, we only use one computer, so we're running a lot off of that one device, and we wanted to have something that was very powerful to handle all of that, as well as be able to have enough I/O to where we're not using dongles and everything is just streamlined directly into the device we are using. This computer for us is running Spotify for pre and post service music. It's running our Ecamm Live, which is our live streaming software encoder. It is also running ProPresenter, which is sending an NDI back to Ecamm, as well as sending a feed to our triple head to go for our 3 TV setup on the stage. Now we also have our Blackmagic A10 Mini plugged in for our camera feeds. Then we also have a USB cable plugged in for our broadcast audio coming from the wing. And finally, we have a Stream Deck that is also controlling a lot of that software I already mentioned. So yeah, as you can tell, this computer is doing a lot of heavy lifting. Now, having the extra I/O, I really do believe helps streamline everything and make the computer run more efficiently, where it's not having to sacrifice power just to read and direct inputs and outputs of said devices. Now, before I continue on, if you're getting any value out of this, please consider hitting that like and subscribe button, as it really helps out my channel. If I'm being honest, I really don't believe it's worth the extra price to upgrade these computers from the base model. And my reasoning is the value that you get for the little bit added performance isn't really worth it unless you're doing some very high-end video editing and other extreme scenarios that most churches aren't doing with this device. The only upgrade I can recommend though is the internal storage, as the Apple SSDs are extremely fast and you're not going to be able to find a SSD that is like that cheap. I know they're very expensive, but the value that you get out of it is worth it. But let's be real, 8 terabytes isn't worth an extra $2,400. So keep that in mind. There is a little bit of a leeway in there to where 1 or 2 terabytes is probably worth it, but anything after that, it's not really worth it. Now, what if I don't need that much I/O? Is this still the right device for me? And in my opinion, I would actually say, no, it's not. I would actually go with a Mac Mini. as it is a very powerful little computer. It just doesn't have as much I/O. We actually used to have one, and then we just couldn't make the I/O work for us. Now yes, the Mac Studio would be more powerful, however, you'd only be waiting a couple extra seconds for the Mac Mini to export a video or something like that. So it's just very marginal, the value per dollar of what you are getting with each device. Now, like I said, if you need a lot of I/O like we did, the Mac Studio would be a perfect device for you. If you don't, I would actually go with a Mac Mini. Now, if you have any questions, please feel free to drop them down in the comments below, and I will catch you in the next one. Thanks.